Jude Odor is the millionaire CEO of Mr. Tom's Restaurant, a restaurant with its presence at the heart of Lagos State, Nigeria. Jude had a humble beginning. Orphaned at the age of 8, Jude traveled to Lagos, Nigeria, with his uncle Matthew at the tender age of 8. He was able to finish off with his catering school. At the end of his graduation from catering school, Jude worked in many 5-star hotels before starting his own restaurant. He worked at Radar Hotels and Summer Gardens Hotel. During his work as a chef, Jude found it difficult to have any girlfriend. All the girls that Jude liked and approached for friendship all saw him as too poor to be their boyfriend. What does he have to offer? A common chef. Jude has the vision of turning his culinary talents into a business and was super focused. He dressed simply and lived in a modest house. His uncle Matthew advised him to get a girlfriend with whom he can build life together. Jude listened carefully and took his uncle's advice to heart. "Jude, my son," Uncle Matthew advised, "I know you are a very industrious young man. It is very important that you are focused in your work. Do not let girls distract you. Get yourself a girlfriend with whom you can build life together. Now you are still starting out." Jude nodded attentively at his uncle. "Yes," Uncle Jude replied. That year, Jude was promoted in his office at Summer Gardens Hotels where he worked. Yet he kept a low profile because he was saving for something big. To build a restaurant, his colleagues bought good cars immediately and parked into luxury apartments. But Jude remained in his modest house. He saved all the money he could and planned daily diligently on his new business. He also prayed fervently about his aspirations. He tried to get a girlfriend with whom he can build together as advised by his uncle. First he met with Mary. Mary is an accountant who worked with the bank. She is also very beautiful, a banker who also has a promising career ahead of her. They met during a friend's traditional marriage. They very quickly exchanged contacts and went on a few dates. Jude was, however, not what she wanted. Firstly, he doesn't even have a car, c'est toi. Then, as though that was not enough, Jude doesn't even live in a nice area. Mary wanted a man who is rich and can take care of her needs. "There's no love without money," Mary said to her friend Jennifer as she discussed Jude with her. Jude was quick to read the handwriting on the wall. When Mary claimed there was no time to go out with Jude during the weekends, Jude needed no prophet to tell him that for whatever reasons Mary was not interested. He tried some other women, but it was all the same story. He saw the same pattern with Kate, Sonia, and even Amanda. That was when Jude decided he would be a loner. "I can build alone with God by my side. I will surely succeed," Jude promised himself. A year later, Jude had resigned from the place he worked as a chef. He rented a bungalow at the office area of Victoria Island. He renovated the bungalow, turning it into a restaurant. He made some adverts and customers began to come. Little by little they came. Then the good news spread around. Every customer returned the next day to Mr. Tom's restaurant. At first, Mr. Jude cooked all the meals, but with the increase in the number of customers, he wrote out his recipe and employed people. He was always the first to come to work in his restaurant, even though he was the boss. He was not only the first to come to work in his restaurant, but he was also the last to go. Jude's restaurant, Mr. Tom's Restaurant, boomed every day. Without fail, their customers trooped in number. That was how Jude began expanding his restaurant. He expanded and built 2 more other restaurants. He made sure that his secret recipes were strictly followed in all his meals. This made all the meals in his restaurant to taste the same. At this stage, Jude was impressed with the volume of money he makes on a daily basis. He needed a car for effective movement in the management of his 3 branches. Mr. Jude bought a brand new SUV for himself. He also built himself a beautiful mansion house in Lekki. At this point, he noticed something different. He had forgotten about girls and is completely focused on his business. However, girls wouldn't let him rest. His phone buzzed with messages from different girls. He doesn't seem to fathom where they got his number from. They were always sliding into his DM. Across his social media platforms, where he advertises his business and promoted his restaurant, sweet words were pouring in from girls. Where were all these girls before? Jude wondered. When he walked with his 2 legs and lived in a modest house in Ikoton, no girl agreed to go out with him. They always took him unseriously, lying to him that they had no time. Even the girls that refused to be with him when he was still starting out and saving money for his company now chats him up on WhatsApp. Hi. Mary chatted him one day. It's been a while, Jude. Just wanted to know how you are doing. Just catching up on old times. Jude was baffled. Old times? Did they ever have any old times? Jude mused to himself as he thought over the recent happenings. Mary never had time for him. How come he is now amongst her old times friends? After Jude had established 6 restaurants across the state of Lagos, it was finally time for him to show appreciation to his uncle Matthew, who had brought him up from the village when he was just but 8 years old. He built a house for him at Lagos Island and threw a splendid 70th birthday party for him. Both Uncle Matthew and his wife Patty were very happy with him. They prayed for him, praying for his business to expand more and more. They also prayed for him to marry a good wife and to have good children. Just as you have made us proud, your children will also make you proud, prayed Uncle Matthew. Jude was very happy. All through the prayers he shouted Amen, Amen with a loud voice. After the birthday celebration, Mr. Matthew and his wife Pat began to frequent Jude's house. We want to know, Jude, when you are getting married, they asked on their first visit. Jude was bewildered. But Uncle, I am not getting married anytime soon. Are you okay? Uncle Matthew asked. You are 30 years old this year and you don't know when you are getting married. You better open up to us where your secret wife and children are, Uncle Matthew said. I swear to God, Uncle, I don't even have a girlfriend, let alone a wife and children. So what are you waiting for? Uncle Matthew said. Don't you know that you got success early in life and should get married too? Or haven't you heard that behind every successful man there's a woman? Uncle Matthew left Jude's house only after he had assured him that he will start looking for a wife right away. A week later, Uncle Matthew was at Jude's house again. The chef at Jude's house prepared a delicious fresh fish pepper soup for him, but he refused to eat. Uncle, eat and drink. You've come to your son's house, Jude said, but Uncle Matthew refused to eat. My late brother Charles will not be happy to hear that at this age you are not yet married. Uncle, have it come that? Jude asked. Uncle Matthew nodded soberly. Yes, it has. You have to get a wife, so that you can further my late brother's lineage. That was when Jude understood that his uncle was out for business. Okay, Uncle, just give me some time and I will look for a wife. Like how long? Asked Uncle Matthew. Like 2 months, replied Jude. Matthew could not imagine that Jude was 30, have made it, and have no one to settle down with. How can he marry all these girls that are after him because of his money? The next couple of weeks at Mr. Tom's restaurant was quite hectic. Jude was preparing for a vacation. He wanted to travel to the newest branch of Mr. Tom's restaurant in Owerri, the southeastern part of Nigeria. There at Owerri, Mr. Jude settled down in a small apartment house. The next morning he went to submit his application letter at Mr. Tom's restaurant. There Jude applied as a cleaner. He wanted to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. First, he wanted to know whom his team of staff in Owerri are. If he came to them as a boss, they will all be paying lip service to him. Secondly, he wanted to get married, but only to a woman who loves him truly, not for what he has, but for whom he is. He was recruited at Mr. Tom's restaurant because he had already told his head office at Lagos to recruit him as a cleaner. So Mr. Jude began to work at Mr. Tom's restaurant as a cleaner. He was a very cheerful cleaner. Hello, he will greet everyone in the morning as he resumed work every day. Some will reply courteously, while some will snub him completely. The floor of Mr. Tom's restaurant was always spotlessly cleaned. Jude was also very polite to their customers. Some of the customers will give him tips, whilst some will snub him. Some others, however, were always very angry, and no matter how much Jude smiled at them, they seemed to be upset at him or themselves, or something. One of such customers is Miss Perpetual, a bank manager, who usually comes in every afternoon to eat her lunch. Miss Perpetual had a temper that made people to nickname her Miss Pepper. Her body is always as hot as pepper. Amaka, one of the waitresses, will often complain about Miss Perpetual. Customers are always right, replied the manager. Just make sure you treat her kindly. Every week, Amaka lays a fresh complaint about Miss Perpetual. Do you know how much of her money we part with every week, Amaka? Just fake kindness and patience if you don't have one, advised the manager. One day, another rich girl by name Ogechi stepped into Mr. Tom's restaurant. She walked quietly to her seat and waited patiently. It was a splendid experience for Amaka. She served Ogechi's orders delightfully. She did eat her food and got up to go. Then she thanked Amaka for her services and tipped her with a little token. She greeted everyone who greeted her and made no fuss or complaints like Miss Perpetual. "This is the kind of customers we need in this restaurant," said Miss Amaka. Jude smiled and simply said, "Customers are always right. Miss Perpetual is also a customer." One day the young lady stopped close to Jude after responding to his greetings. "Thank you for the warm welcome. You are part of the reason I keep coming back to this restaurant. Your services are good." Jude nodded. "Thank you for your patronage." "I am just doing my job," Jude said. "And you do it exceptionally well," replied Miss Ogechi. "Take this for the weekend," Miss Ogechi said as she brought out a clean note and handed it over to Jude. Jude thanked Ogechi multiple times and waved her goodbye. Ogechi Okafor is the manager of Stanford Medical Supplies Limited, a company owned by her father, Mr. Stanford. The company is located 3 poles away from Miss Tom's restaurant. For this reason, Miss Ogechi frequents the restaurant for her lunch. One day she forgot her wallet on her table after lunch. As Jude cleaned up her table, he picked up the wallet and kept it safely for her. In the evening, she pulled over her SUV in front of the restaurant. "Did anyone see my wallet?" she asked the security. "Yes, there was a wallet picked up by Mr. Jude, the cleaner." The security man, Mr. Oscar, handed the wallet over to her. "Here it is," said Mr. Oscar as he handed her over the wallet. She checked the wallet carefully and confirmed that it was intact. Ogechi was surprised. The $5,000 inside her wallet was intact, along with her ATM cards. "Who picked up the wallet?" Miss Ogechi asked after a thorough examination of her wallet. "It was picked up by Mr. Jude, the cleaner," Oscar replied. Miss Ogechi was so happy she went over to where Jude was sitting and gave him a hug. "Thank you, Mr. Jude. You are not only nice at your job, you are honest too. I mean, you could have made away with part of the money and claimed that you saw it that way." She gave Jude some more tips and invited him over the weekend for a hangout. "You are a nice gentleman, Jude. Why don't you come to this online training we have over the weekend? You can sign up for a good online skill, and I will be glad to pay for it. I honestly believe that if you get this skill and add it to your job, you will be making better money in no time," Miss Ogechi continued. "Yes, please tell me more about the training. I am interested," replied Jude. That Saturday, Jude was off from his duties. He went for the weekend training, not because he needed to acquire more skills, but because he needed to know more about Ogechi. Ogechi went out of her way to enroll Jude in the training. "As a man, I am sure you will be happy to earn more money. I mean, I will do the same for my brother," said Miss Ogechi. Jude thanked her multiple times. Meanwhile, Ogechi had a boyfriend who was very demanding and controlling. She was trying to set her boundaries, but Humphrey's attitude is simply unbearable. One day, while she was at the restaurant, Jude overheard her answering a call. After the call, he watched as tears dropped down her cheeks. She brought out her handkerchief, wiped her tears, and then after some minutes, she left her food and drove off in her car. This made Jude curious. He felt concerned about Miss Ogechi. He felt bad seeing her fight her tears the last time at the restaurant. Jude was suspicious. She might be in a wrong relationship, Jude thought. He had been with Ogechi's number, yet he rarely calls her unless on a formal note. He began sending her messages through WhatsApp. "Hi Ogechi." Jude would say, "How are you doing? Hope you are good. Just checking up on you." She would reply him saying, "I am good, Jude, how are you?" So that was how Jude slowly began to communicate more to Miss Ogechi, not as a lover at first, but as a friend. It didn't take long before she began to open up to him. She began to find in Jude a safe place where she feels free to share her challenges. Most days she will forward Humphrey's messages to Jude. Jude was getting worked up with Humphrey's messages. Humphrey is erratic and an abusive man. He was doing no good to Ogechi's emotions. Each time Ogechi tries to cut off from him, he will start begging her to remain in the relationship. He will go as far as calling his family to help him beg Ogechi for forgiveness, but will end up repeating the same thing again. Finally, Ogechi was courageous enough to quit the relationship. Humphrey was not only suspecting her of sleeping around with men, but expected her to massage his ego by agreeing with everything he told her. Humphrey needed a woman with no will of her own. 2 weeks after Ogechi had finally cut off relationship with Humphrey, Jude asked her out. "I can only afford a small restaurant down the street," Jude warmed. Miss Ogechi was happy to hang out with Jude. She talked freely with him and was also very respectful of Mr. Jude, though he was just a cleaner. She also encouraged him to finish up with his online class. "You can have an online job and make better money," Ogechi said as she tried motivating Jude. Jude knew his time was up in Owerri, but will Ogechi agree to marry him even as a cleaner, or will he lose her forever? One Sunday, as they sat down to talk and gist at a modest restaurant in Owerri, Jude summoned courage to propose to Ogechi. To his utmost surprise, Ogechi agreed there and then to marry him. Jude had booked a flight to travel back to Lagos when Miss Ogechi found out that he was the owner of Mr. Tom's restaurant. On one of their outings, Miss Ogechi's phone had a battery drainage. Jude was kind enough to give her his phone to use and keep herself busy as he answers to the call of nature. 1212 is the password, he said to her as he rushed to the toilet. At first, she played some games with his phone before an Instagram notification entered the phone. Curiously, Ogechi opened up the Instagram message, but to her greatest surprise was blown away by what she saw. There on his Instagram page, she saw Jude's real status, Jude of the CEO of Mr. Tom's restaurant. Ogechi was first confused. Was Jude trying to claim something he's not? Then she began her investigations. When Jude was back, she quickly excused herself. "Sorry, Jude, I want to go home. We'll see you another time." Miss Ogechi left the restaurant, hurried home, and charged her phone. Ogechi started her research. She visited the restaurant's website and still saw Jude's number as the director's number. The next day, Ogechi confronted Jude. Jude smiled. "It is true," he said simply. But Ogechi was not finding it funny. "So why did you lie to me all these while making me believe that you are a cleaner at Mr. Tom's restaurant instead of the chief executive officer?" The next week, Jude traveled back to Lagos. He's been away from his business for 2 long months. He chatted Miss Ogechi on the phone, thinking their relationship was still on, but Ogechi told him that their relationship was over as he chatted her on the phone. "I cannot marry a deceiver," Ogechi said. But a part of her knew that Jude was the man for her. He treated her kindly and differently, unlike Humphrey, who does not care about her emotions. Ogechi had been in tears for a week now, having ended her relationship with Jude. She loves Jude very much and misses his friendship badly. But Jude would not give up. He had never seen a girl so kind and yet so decent and beautiful as Ogechi. She has it all: beauty, kindness, and good character. A month later, Jude was back to Owerri to pay Miss Ogechi's bride price. Ogechi had realized that Jude is the man meant for her and had agreed to continue in their relationship. Jude's uncle was super proud of him. "You have found yourself a woman as benevolent as you are." The staff of Mr. Tom's restaurant, Owerri, were the most surprised of all, finding out that Mr. Jude, the once cheerful cleaner who worked among them, is the real owner of Mr. Tom's restaurant. Ogechi and Jude were married in a lavish wedding. Uncle Matthew was the father of the day and was very proud of Jude's achievements. Hey friends, do you believe that it's pretty hard for very successful young men to find true love in today's world? Share your thoughts with us on the comment section, and kindly subscribe as we bring you educative stories on African classic stories.